Jeff Gibbons here with a quick video. In this one I'm going to talk about the newest extension to come to the rack of Reason. And this is Antares Autotune. And it is pretty much the same as Autotune Access, which is one of their lowest offerings of Autotune. And so I'm going to be showing this in Cubase as a rack device. And of course, this applies to anybody who owns just Reason or any other of the programs now that can run Reason as a rack device. At first, I was wondering why people would be excited about this software if they've already got Neptune, which comes with Reason and Reason Studio. And so what I've done is just a quick little comparison. So I've got a project here with an untuned vocal track, and I'll do some comparisons between the other comparable auto tunes that people might already have on their system. And you can just have a listen to some of the things I noticed, and you can make that decision for yourself. You'll see that there's not very many controls in this one. And so Retune Speed, all that means is it's analyzing the pitches as they come in. And if you have it set to slow, the tuning speed will not kick in that fast. It'll let more out of tune things happen. It'll sound a little more realistic. So that might be if you want just a subtle sort of pitch correction on your voice. Next one is medium, which is going to be just a little bit more aggressive auto-tune. And if you want the classic auto-tune sound, then you crank that all the way to fast. And then over on the right-hand side, we have humanize, and we only have 3 stops for both of these controls. And with the humanize, if you have it cranked up, it's going to allow more of the sort of human things like fluctuations at the end of a note or vibrato and stuff like that. And then down here, you would choose your key. So you could either have it set to chromatic or a certain type of scale. And if you have it set to chromatic, you're going to have a lot more room for failure with your pitch correction. So if your song was, say, in the key of C and somebody sang a B and you have it set to chromatic and they're a little bit flat or more than 50% flat, it's going to actually push the note to a B flat. So that's why you don't want to have it set to just chromatic. You want to actually choose the specific key for the song that you're in. And so here I would choose the key that I'm in for this song, which is A sharp or B flat, and then we'll just go B flat major and or G minor, same key signature. And then over here we have note in information, so you can actually play the notes. Let me show you what that sounds like in a second. And then over on the right hand side we've got pitch to CV or control voltage, and what that means is if we turn the rack around by pressing tab, we get to choose to send this gate information to something like a synthesizer. So I'll show you what that sounds like in a little bit. In this song here, I'm working with Alice. This is a song called Unapologetic. If you go way back in my YouTube playlist, you can find this song. And we worked on the song together, and her voice is great. She needs very little tuning to begin with. But I've got a track here that has some fluctuation in pitch, or one of the takes. And so we'll listen to it, and we'll compare Autotune to Neptune, which comes with Reason. In Cubase, we'll look at the pitch correct plugins. So we'll compare those, and then we'll talk about some of the differences I noticed right off the bat that made my ears perk up just a little bit. So let's have a quick listen to Alice here without any tuning.
There's something in the way we fool ourselves, losing passion when we just get overwhelmed.
Slightly flat on the word way right here, and then this had some fluctuations in it.
When the deep is calling us to dive.
Word us is a little flat there. So first off, we'll start with the pitch correct plugin that comes with Cubase. So I'll turn that one on. I've got this already set to B flat or A sharp major as the key, and this one has speed and tolerance, kind of speed of the note, same as Autotune, and then tolerance is how much is it allowing it to fluctuate. So very similar controls on this one.
There's something in the way we fool ourselves, losing passion when we just get overwhelmed.
Sounds pretty decent. I'm going to turn that off, and we'll turn on the Reason one now. Well, first let's look at Autotune Reason.
There's something in the way we fool ourselves, losing passion when we just get overwhelmed. When the deep is calling us to dive.
So that correction right there sounded really nice. We've got it set at retune speed of medium. It's on humanize. Let's turn that off again. Listen to it again.
When the deep is calling us to dive.
So deep and us are a little bit off. Let's listen to it again.
When the deep is calling us to dive.
So it sounds very natural. I'm hearing the pitch correction happening, but it's not like, oh, there's auto-tune. Now let's try the Neptune plugin.
When the deep is calling us to dive.
And I can hear some artifacts when I use the Neptune one. So that's one reason for you there, is that the Neptune pitch correction, which is quite an old effect. I think it's probably about 10 years old now. It has some artifacts. I hear artifacts throughout the singing, and one of the biggest ones that was always a dead giveaway is when the pitch correction software does something funky to the breath. You're going to hear this kind of gargly thing. Let's have a listen to that. It's almost like a robotic sound, you know?
When the deep is calling us.
And then if we go listen to Autotune again.
When the deep is calling us to die.
The breath sounds perfect, but it's still doing the tuning. And then if we go listen to the Cubase one, the pitch correct.
When the deep is calling us to dive.
I'm still hearing a bit of artifacts on call and dive. Listen to it here.
When the deep is calling us to dive.
Especially on the word dive, you hear just a little flip that happens, and the pitch correction is analyzing the audio, and sometimes you just get these weird artifacts where, at the beginning of a word, or things like S's and T's and stuff like that can get really funky with bad pitch correction. So let's go through and listen to the Autotune a little bit more.
I'm releasing the lies, and I'm healing, 'cause it's time. Unapologetic.
Okay, so lots of vibrato at the end of those words right there on the chorus here. Well, let's try the other tuning software out. Let's try Neptune.
Unapologetic.
I'm still hearing that robotic sound on the breath. Okay, let's go listen to pitch correct on those two phrases.
Unapologetic.
So again, there on the sound Paul, listen to the way it sounds right there.
Unapologetic.
Getting some more classic pitch correction sound on there, which isn't pleasing to me. Let's try the Autotune again.
Unapologetic.
It just sounds more natural to me. So that is what I'm noticing right off the bat, that the Autotune overall, throughout all of this, just sounds more natural. So there's some very audible differences, especially between Autotune Reason and Neptune. I think if you're just looking at those two, then it would definitely be an upgrade for you, give you a more natural sounding Autotune or more natural sounding pitch correction. So the other thing you can do with Autotune Reason is to actually use it to output pitch information as control voltage information. So if we go to the back of the rack here, we can actually take the output of the CV output and wire it into something like a synthesizer. So I've got the old classic subtractor here. You could use any synthesizer on your computer. So we take the gate output and the CV output over to our subtractor, and then it's going to analyze the notes and then trigger those notes on the synthesizer. So I find if I got the gate threshold set to about 92% and the follow gain all the way up, I'm getting okay results. So I hear it's not perfect. It's going to do some funky things in there, but I'm sure somebody could find an interesting use for that. Let's see if we put it with the original voice.
Unapologetic. Unapologetic.
So anyways, that gives you an idea of what the CV output stuff does. So now let me show you the CV input. So I could actually take this one right here.
I'm living to be free and unapologetic. Unapologetic.
So I'm just playing one note right now, and the MIDI information is going to that auto-tune effect and is actually forcing it to play or to sing just that one note. So it allows you to very specifically go in and choose what each note should be. And so sometimes that would work out really well. You make a MIDI track that has the notes that the person's supposed to sing, and then your Autotune effect is going to move those notes exactly to whatever they are. They're going to move it to the note that you have in MIDI. So if your MIDI's a little off, it could get really ugly too. And so in Cubase, the way I did that is I have my vocal track and then I have my MIDI track, and the MIDI track is being routed to Audio 01's insert effect right there. This looks like a bit of a mess here, but let me just show you specifically. If I take the output of this track right here, this little arrow going out, the output of this MIDI track is going to Audio 01 insert 3 because it receives MIDI information. That MIDI information goes to the effect that is on this Audio 01 track, and I can now send MIDI information to this Reason rack device right here. So when I play, you see note information going in. So you can see an A, a B flat, F, etc. If you don't have any form of Autotune and you're not interested in going in and pitch shifting every single note, you just want an effect that's going to go over top of everything, then this effect would actually work really well for you. To me, it sounds very clean and pleasing and not auto-tuney. So thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button. See you in the next video.